Okay, we're on. I'm here with Enrique Bernal,
Yes, sir.
and we're going to be talking about his years in the United States Navy. So, if you would state your name, your date of birth, the years you were in service, and what branch you were in.
My name is full name is Ernesto Enrique Bernal. I joined the Navy in 2001 and separated in 2010. And my date of birth is March 14, 1983.
Okay. So, Enrique, I'm Dr. Carney, provost here at the Tarpon Springs campus, and as you know, I work in support of the Billeracus Veterans Legacy Archives that's hosted here on this campus, and we work to get veteran stories so that other people can share your experiences in the military. So let me start with a series of questions. How old were you when you enlisted into the service?
18.
You were 18 years old.
Yes, sir.
Why did you enlist?
Uh, I'm first generation American. I was born in Miami, but most of my Colombia is from most of my family is from Colombia. So I my parents moved to Colombia when I was 5, and I for 10 years I lived in Colombia, and I always kind of had the in the back of my mind that I was going to come back to the U.S. And I think that passion I wanted to come back also led me into serving, into I would watch movies and into the military. I was really patriotic over there in Colombia. That got me into trouble sometimes. But from an early day on, I knew that I was going to end up joining the military. I want at any capacity whatsoever. I didn't know what, but once I got back in 1998 to the States, joined high school, and then as soon as I was done, I pretty much joined into the U.S. Navy.
How did your family react with your enlistment into the Navy?
I guess they were indifferent. I mean, they were happy for me. They were proud. They didn't really see it as a big thing. My uncle had joined the army before, so I wasn't the first one joining the military. They just they just wanted the best for me, and at the time, I think that they knew that was it.
And why did you choose the Navy?
I was originally going to join the Marines, and the recruiter I was talking to got in trouble in my high school for selling drugs to students.
The recruiter?
Yeah, my Marine recruiter. The day that I found out, I went to his office, and the Marine office was closed, and that was the day I was supposed to sign in. And sure enough, a Navy guy comes out and starts talking to me and told me what happened. And the next thing you know, I created a report with him, and 2 weeks later, I joined the U.S. Navy. So it was kind of a fate, I guess. But I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all.
Fantastic. So you were intending to join the Marines,
Yes.
but you wound up in the Navy. Describe your initial training experience. What did you take your basic training, and how describe that for us?
Basic training was in Great Lakes, Illinois. I got there in August and finished in October, sometime in October. It was, to be honest with you, I didn't think it was difficult at all. Growing from being raised by Latino parents, you kind of get a little bit of a boot camp early on in life. So for me, I was able to go through the whole movements and waves pretty seamlessly. So it wasn't that bad for me. Then after that, we went to my A school, air crew school, and then
This is after basic training?
Yeah, after basic training, and then rescue swimmer school, which is where I ended my training portion of it.
Let's come back to that. Now, so you between basic training and your first assignment, you had to leave?
Yes.
What did you do during your leave?
It was for Christmas break, and I came down to Tampa at that time to visit a friend, and then from here I went down to Miami for about 2 weeks, and I went to see my high school friends in uniform, of course.
So you wore your uniform?
Yeah, it was hot, and I was wearing we were supposed to wear the blue uniform, so it was really hot, and for December especially, and I went there and got a lot of looks. But it was fun, and most of it just spent with my family, my friends.
So you were proud to wear your Navy uniform?
Yes,
your first
yes.
leave?
And I was afraid too. I actually got in some trouble. We went to see some drag racing out of my hometown, and that night the cops said, they happened to be doing a raid, and I got kind of a detained, and I was just almost in tears because I've only been in the Navy for 3 months. I'm about to get kicked out. That was my fear.
Yeah.
But we're not doing anything wrong, so we got let go. But it was a scary moment, and at that point I knew how serious my decision in joining the military was, because I already felt that heavy responsibility within me.
Now, once you completed your leave after basic training, where did you go then? Where did you serve?
Went to Pensacola, NAS Pensacola, and I did my aircrew school there, and also my rescue swimmer, search and rescue school there as well. And after that, I went to Mayport, Florida, to do my sea school, which is the last section of your training before you actually get released into the fleet.
What's a sea school?
Sea school is your the best way that I can say it is your last certificate, your last certification before you can actually get released to the fleet as a regular sailor per se. That's when the job that you'll be training for, you finalize your training for it, and you get graded on, and if you pass, you get released. If not, they keep you behind until they feel comfortable that you have the knowledge, the sufficient knowledge.
So you were being trained for the fleet, you said?
Yes.
So describe the fleet. When did you get to this fleet?
I didn't get to the fleet until summer of 2004. I ended up being stationed in San Diego, California. At that point, I had converted my rate, my MOS, what the Army calls it, my rate from AW, Aviation Warfare Operator, into what the Army called Chaplain Assistant, or Religious Program Specialist. I was attached to the USS Princeton, CG-59, and I was there from 2004 all the way to fall of 2006, which at that point I separated from the military. Okay. The first time.
The first time?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so during the first time, so you went from basic training to leave, then you went to
special training.
Florida,
Yeah.
get some special training,
and then to San Diego.
And then you went to San Diego.
And in those 2 years, I deployed to the Gulf once. It was an interesting deployment. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of scares, a lot of fun.
Describe that. Describe the scares and the fun.
Well, but first of all, we lost
This is
some
the
men at
Gulf
sea.
of
Yeah.
Gulf of where?
Persian Gulf.
Persian Gulf.
Yeah.
Now, was there conflict going on at the time?
At that time, yeah, we were in the middle of the Iraq War, and fortunately, Iraq doesn't have a big navy, but we had a couple of bumps with the Iranian Navy, and it's so political. It's a chess game. They will come around, surround us, and just go around our ship. And our ship is way capable than theirs, but they were just trying to show force. And we just
These Iranians.
there, yeah, and we just stand there, just ignoring them as much as possible. For the most part, the deployment was quiet. Unfortunately, we did lose a man out to sea.
Man,
he drowned.
What happened?
We don't know. We woke up one day and he didn't show up to muster. And the next thing we know, we have a man overboard, a call, and we spend the next 3 days looking for him out in sea. I was part of the scat watch, which actually stands outside by the edge of the ship and starts looking for and scanning the waters, and we couldn't find them.
Did you know this soldier?
Not personally. I did know him, not closely, but I did know him, and we really don't know what happened. There were rumors of suicide, there were rumors of somebody getting pushed, but we never actually found out what happened.
So what other assignments did you have on that ship in the Gulf, Persian Gulf?
We were also the plane guard for the USS, cannot remember, USS Nimitz, I believe. And basically what the plane guard does is when a carrier, aircraft carriers deploying their planes, you always have a smaller ship escorting the aircraft just in case that he comes under attack. This ship is the first one to defend it, especially against submarine attack. That was pretty much the most. The carrier did all the fly-ups. They would send plane after plane to their missions, bombing or escort or whatever it was.
Into Iraq.
Yeah, into Iraq.
Yeah.
And we would just stay there and support the battle group. Mm-hmm. Overall, it was quiet except for those incidents that we had.
So now you mentioned, how long were you in the Persian?
About 2 months tops, and then we came back. We rotate like that. Our deployments are 6 months long, but 6 months from the moment you leave San Diego and from the moment you get back. So it takes us almost 2 months to get there. We stay there 2 months and 2 months to come back.
So you went back to San Diego?
San Diego.
Now you mentioned that was your first military
Yes.
assignment. Did you have another military assignment?
Yes, I did. I got out in 2005 out of San Diego, and then joined the reservists. Came down to Miami, and I volunteer. I put my name in the volunteer list to redeploy as an individual mentee Navy program. Basically, you volunteer and they send you whatever they want. And 8 months later, I got a call, and I was informed that I was going to be deployed to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan?
Yes, that happened, and I actually flew out of the continental United States on New Year's Eve, 2008. Flew to Afghanistan, and I was assigned to Bagram Air Base with the task group Trident.
Which base was that?
Bagram, Afghanistan, and I was assigned to the task group Trident, the U.S. Naval group there, under 101st. And our assignment was detainee ops. That's what we did. We were assigned to do detainee ops.
Okay.
And basically, in a nutshell, I was a prison guard.
You're a prison guard for
detainees.
Yeah, for Afghan soldiers.
Not necessarily. Detainees, in essence, there were people that were being detained until they got a court date. That's as much as we knew anyhow. It was.
What kind of people were they? Were they women, men, children?
Men. Men, yes. All of the men, no children, just men. It was a very interesting experience for me. I learned a lot about myself. It was challenging. It was, in a way, exciting.
What were the challenges?
Well, when we got trained to go, we went to Fort Lewis before we actually left to Afghanistan to get trained. They didn't tell us what we were going to be doing. They just said we're going to be training you for detainee ops, but you're not going to know where you're going to go. You're not going to know what you're going to be doing exactly until you get there. So all of us Navy, most of us, it was our first deployment under infantry training. We got weapons training, combat training, and all that we got crammed within 3 months.
So you were in training for 3 months before you deployed?
Yes, and we were getting trained in everything that the Army does, basically. So that part of the section was kind of fun. I get to meet a lot of great people from the Navy and from the Army. But
and
once
the training was done where?
In Fort Lewis, Washington.
Okay. Washington State?
Yes.
Okay, really?
Washington
On
State.
the West Coast?
Yes.
Okay.
It started snowing by the time we left, so we got lucky. But it was getting cold.
Yes.
Right before we got sent to Afghanistan, we finally got a brief of where we were going to go. And we got shown a video. Their CEO came to talk to us because it was the facility we were going to go to was at that moment run by the Air Force. It was an Air Force unit, and we were going to transfer over the Navy unit. Once we saw the video, and we spoke to the CEO, everybody started freaking out because it was something that we were not expecting. Most of us thought that we had joined to go and do Humvee runs or infantry missions. But our unit was the first one being tested for this specific mission. So a lot of us got a little bit concerned. I mean, I think all of us were concerned because
what about the assignment were you concerned about? Was it the location? Was it
not necessarily the location?
Weather?
It was the type of assignment. I mean, can't really go into details, but detainee operations are you are face to face with potential enemies, and you get to have conversation with these individuals on a constant basis, whether you want it or not. You get trained not to. But they also teach you that you have to gain a level of rapport, just like working in any other prison.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be just the mean guy all the time.
Right.
You have to build some kind of rapport and an understanding and respect.
Yeah. Did you get to know any of the detainees?
Not personally, we're not allowed to, not by name or anything like that. We have numbers, and we just forgot the numbers.
Yeah. Anything specific that you remember about any of them?
Oh yeah, I remember meeting. He was a former guy for Army Special Unit and translator, and he led him into an ambush, and the whole unit got killed. And he eventually got caught. And this guy, just by talking to me, you think he was American. I mean, he didn't have an accent. He had the beer because that was their custom in there.
Mm-hmm.
And he will talk to you like if nothing. I mean, he was on the other side of the fence, but he will talk to you like a human being.
Mm-hmm.
But his conversations were cold, and in the sense that, he will say, "Yeah, buddy, I'm cool with you because you gave me my meal, but if I had the chance, I'll come out and break your neck on the instant, kill you." And you got to have all these conversations, like string conversations, at a passive and calm tone, and that builds a lot of character within you, and also builds a lot of resilience to words and to comments. And the more you spoke to these people, at least from my side, I didn't feel empathy for them. I didn't even understand their struggle, but I understood where the conflict arose from. And it was difficult for me to assimilate that at first.
Where do you think the conflict arose from?
To be honest, for me it comes down to lack of general education, in the sense of most of the men that I met really young.
Really young?
Yeah, they didn't know how to read, how to write, and in their culture, there's always the older one, the man that reads the Quran, the one in charge of reading the Quran. He's the voice of wisdom. He's the voice you gotta follow. You don't know how to read, you don't know how to write, you have to follow, because it's your tradition, it's your culture to follow the man in charge. And if that man in charge tells you that killing Americans is within the laws and rules of your religion, you follow that like if it was scripture, like if you were reading that from the book. And I will say 80% of the people that I spoke to, they don't know how to read or write, and they will follow this man, the leader. So if the man was poisoned, the believer was going to be poisoned.
They call them the elders?
I can't remember the word for them, but they have a specific name. And usually they're the ones that in that specific group, they'll be in charge, and they'll respect the most.
What about your fellow soldiers? Any of your fellow soldiers that you remember specifically?
Yeah, I can think of two. My friend Tim Legaspi and Rodolfo Ornelas. One from Phoenix, Arizona, and the other one from San Antonio, Texas. There's a saying in the Navy that eventually you're gonna meet, love, and hate a guy from Texas, and that is true.
Really?
Yeah. Great people. To me, they're like brothers. We only deployed around 8 months, and in that time, it was enough for us to create a bond that to this date is still going strong.
Good. How did you get information about what was going on in the world? Where did you get your news source from when you were in Afghanistan?
To be honest, the only time that I got news is during the chow hall, because in the chow hall they had the TVs posted, and Fox was always on, Fox News. That was the only time that I actually really paid attention to the news, and it was for the 10 or 15 minutes that I was sitting down eating. Besides that, we did have limited internet access at that point.
Internet?
Yeah. But besides that, I really kept myself kind of out of the loop for a while, except for family. I just didn't really care for that, thinking too much. I had too many things going on in my head at that point, and I'm tired and working with the.
How often did you speak with your family when you were deployed?
I tried to make at least a weekly call. I did. I tried. It was only by calls. I didn't really send a lot of emails or letters. Fortunately, with the facility where I worked at, there were phone lines available that I could use. So I tried to keep in contact as much as possible.
So you were in Afghanistan for 8 months?
No, I was in Afghanistan until May 21st when I broke my leg. I finally broke my leg.
You broke your leg?
Yeah. We went on. Every once in a while, there was volunteers to go outside the base to escort certain individuals to certain locations. And this one day, finally, I got picked. And it was a really exciting day. Flew back in. I felt really combat-like. It was really exciting. But that whole mission took about almost 16 hours. By the time I got back, I was so excited, but until I actually literally relaxed, I was tired. My knees were buckling under me.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a tradition that after every single day when we got released from duty, we were going to play soccer or do something.
Mm-hmm.
And this one day, I decided to go. My friends like, no, we're too exhausted, and I was still wired the mission.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to go play soccer, and I should have listened to my knees. Within 10 minutes of me playing, I took a wrong turn and snapped my fibula down to the middle.
Oh my God!
And I was in Germany within 48 hours.
So they flew you to Germany?
Germany, yeah, to stand by, and then I got flown to San Diego, and in San Diego I finally received my surgery.
Where?
In San Diego, California. So
So
I
what
had to
happened
wait.
there?
I had to wait. No, I was there on medical leave until my leg recovered. And in the meanwhile, my buddies came back from deployment. They finished the tour, and I was still there by the time they left. I was there in a year and a half in San Diego, and then after that, I finally separated.
Recovering from a broken leg?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I separated from active duty, went back into the reserves, and in 2010, I finally signed up for the reserves, and that was it.
You did what?
In 2010, I finally separated from the reserves as well,
Yeah.
and I was done with my military service.
How did you decide to separate? What was your thought process?
Family. I've always tell you, and if you talk to other Navy guys, they'll tell you the same thing, or any military member from any other branch. When it comes to family, it's really a tough choice. I give props to any member that stays in and tries to build a family. I really do, but it's hard. It's difficult. I don't think I had it within me to be able to have children, get married, and then leave 6 months at a time, a year at a time. Unfortunately, I don't know if I just paid attention to that, but I saw a lot of bad examples while I was in active duty, and I always believed in a strong family unit.
Bad examples of?
Of bad relationships, bad family units. Parents, spouses would, the fights, the conflicts in between that. You not being able to see your children grow, develop. So I decided early on when I first joined that I was going to keep myself single pretty much throughout my whole career as much as I could, and I was able to do it. There were some close calls, but I was able to stay single throughout the whole time. And I got out in 2010 because I decided to go back to college, finish my degree, and I wanted to focus on it, and also give my chance that if I was to meet somebody, I was going to be able to be there unconditionally. And now I have a 2-year-old. Well, he's about to be 2, and I cannot think of a better decision I've ever taken before. In hindsight, it was the best thing I ever did. I mean, I can't imagine myself being away from him. I miss the service. I miss it sometimes. I miss the unity you can and it just being able to trust. I mean, whether you like a person or not, being able to trust or put your life in the trust of somebody else, it's precious. It's different, and I miss that. I miss the accountability. I miss the trust. I miss the overall environment. I mean, the pride and the commitment, and the courage that we get taught into us stays with us. But it's different. Being outside, you can apply it, but being inside, you can live it better. So I do miss that.
Yeah. So, when you got out of the service, talk to us about the weeks and months after. What did you do, and how did you get married?
The first time I got out, it was a little bit tough on me because I didn't really have a plan in 2006 when I got out. I was kind of happy I got called back to Afghanistan. it happens a lot for what I heard. It happens a lot of veterans get out the first time and then go back in. But coming out the second time, I already had a plan. I already knew how difficult it was going to be, what I needed to take care of. I have learned from my first experience. So the first choice that I made was to move to the Tampa Bay area, not go back to Miami. So after I left San Diego, I went to Miami, picked up my stuff, and moved down here. I had a couple of friends that have visited a few years back, and I kind of liked the whole area. So I moved down here, and I enrolled myself in school immediately here at SBC. In 2004, 2009, I started my schooling as soon as I could. And I guess because school kept me focused, I was able to not lose control and not get scared again like I did the first time. And also able to organize myself better. And
When did you meet your wife?
well, we never actually got married. I met my son's mother in 2010. We dated we dated almost for 2 years, and then things didn't work out. But in the meanwhile, my son Malachi was born, and currently we split custody.
So now when did you finish school?
If everything goes well, I'm gonna finish school in 3 weeks from now.
Oh, really?
My bachelor's degree.
Oh, fantastic. Did you finish your AS degree?
Yes, I finished my A in business here at SBC as well.
What year?
2011. Summer of 2011.
So you enrolled in 2009 and you finished in 2011? So
Correct.
You finished on time, on schedule.
Pretty much. I just took one semester off, and that's when my son was a newborn. I took that one semester off to kind of help out. But after that, besides that, I've been in school almost full time, the whole time. So yes, I'm done on schedule.
So right now you're working for your bachelor's and you're also working full time.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Last question. What lessons about life did your service to our country teach you?
Heavy question. Loaded question.
The things that you carry into life from your service experiences.
I honestly can say that because I was born here and I was raised in a different country, in a tough country, I always knew that I loved this country. But when I was younger, I didn't know why I loved it. And joining the military was, for me, at the time, it was a logical step for me. I figured that if I was to join and serve, I would probably understand. And I didn't. Now while I was in, I finally came to understand why I love this country and believe the way that we are after I got out. In my case specifically, being from Latino heritage, I've experienced racism from both sides of the fence. I experienced it when I was in Colombia for being an American. I experienced it here for having an accent, even though I was born here. But and after traveling to other countries while I was in the Navy, deploying, I cannot find a better place to live in. And I think that the lesson that I learned was that we're not perfect. In a lot of things, we're not the best. But our spirit is the strongest one out there. We know what we believe in. We may talk the big game. But I know that if anything was to happen to us as a country, we will always come together. And we'll always fight. And I think that's the way that I explained it to my father was we're the biggest bully with the biggest heart. They just don't know our heart yet. And I think it took me once I got out and once I actually started paying attention more to the news and stuff like that. And after meeting the people that I met while I was in active duty, I couldn't be happier about being an American. Not a Latin America, not a Hispanic American, an American. And the Navy helped me to get to that point. The military helped me, but I think the people that I met were the ones that helped me to get to that point, to my belief.
Well, Enrique, I want to thank you for your service to this country, and I thank you for your time and for sharing your stories about your military service and experience and what it taught you, and expressing your love for America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.